Hi everyone, welcome and thanks for coming to our talk today, which is all about looking after yourself in the holidays. This is part one of two talks in this series. I'm Rachel and I'm a children's wellbeing practitioner here at Centre 33. This talk and presentation is about 30 minutes long and there will be 15 minutes at the end to answer any questions. Let's start with a bit of an overview of what we'll be covering in this talk today. So we're going to start by exploring the impact that the winter season and weather can have on our mood, energy levels, and behaviour, and share with you some ways you can look after yourself. We'll discuss sleep, how it can be impacted over the holidays, and ways to help keep a good routine. We'll then go on to share with you some self-care tips and strategies, things that you can do to look after yourself during this time. Then we'll talk about the cost of living crisis, what it is, and share a few practical ideas that may help. We'll then talk about the role of media around the holidays, how not everything is as it appears to be, especially around this time of year. And last but not least, we'll share with you some places you can go for support, particularly services that are open around the Christmas holidays. Obviously, we know this can be a difficult time for finding support. Before we start, I just want to say that the holidays can be different for everyone, and to know how you feel about them is completely valid. Whether you celebrate Christmas or not, it's pretty hard not to miss it. And I just wanted you to know that it's okay if you don't celebrate Christmas or if you don't like Christmas. Maybe you used to like Christmas, but you found it difficult now. It's okay if you don't feel good around this time of year. And it's okay not to be okay at Christmas. And hopefully we'll be able to offer you some support through our talks. The first thing I want to talk about is the impact of winter. So studies show that changes in the weather and seasons can have a real impact on how people feel and can affect their mental health. With the days getting shorter and darker and the weather getting colder and wetter, you may notice a change in your mood, energy levels and motivation. You may also notice changes in your eating and sleeping habits. These are quite common changes that can occur. For some people, these changes are noticeable but mild, and they're able to make adjustments and manage with day-to-day activities. But for others, there may be quite big changes, and the impact on mood and everyday life might be quite significant. In those cases, that could be an indication of a mental health issue, such as seasonal affective disorder. And we would encourage people who may be experiencing these bigger changes to speak to their GP to explore things further and find the right support. So to explain a little bit more, the reason why the change in light levels during the winter can affect our mood and energy is because it affects our hormonal balance in our brains. Our bodies follow a natural sleep-wake cycle, which is regulated by the production of certain hormones. Melatonin gradually builds up in our bodies throughout the day, and particularly when the dark, to encourage us to feel tired at night. And serotonin is released in the mornings triggered by daylight to wake us up and make us feel more alert. Having a look at the green diagram on the left, if we have less exposure to sunlight in winter, particularly because of the darker mornings, our brain isn't as sure about when it's time to get up and continues to produce high levels of melatonin. The hormone associated with tiredness is increased. This can result in us feeling more tired than normal and perhaps find it harder to get up in the mornings. However, if we're not careful, this can become a vicious cycle, because if we're feeling tired and less energized throughout the day, we may be less likely to actively go outside and therefore get less sunlight. If you have a look at the diagram, the orange diagram, when days are darker and overcast, we spend less time outdoors. Our brain produces less serotonin. Serotonin not only helps us to feel awake and alert, it also plays a part in balancing our moods. So reduced levels of this means that we might feel more down or flat than usual. This too might also become a vicious cycle, because feeling low reduces our overall motivation to engage in activities which would boost serotonin. The good news is that understanding how the weather can impact our mood leaves us in a good position to actively break these cycles. And I'm going to talk to you about some of the things you can do on the next slide. So, getting daylight. Getting daylight all year round is really important for the production of hormones and vitamins in our body. as mentioned, but it's especially important in winter as we have less of it during the day. And we're often in cold and wet weather, it might make us want to stay indoors more. So if you feel like your mood and energy levels do change in the winter, we would encourage you to make sure that you're getting enough daylight, particularly in the mornings. That could mean going for a walk outside, but it could also mean sitting in your garden or sitting by a window if there's daylight shining through. Keeping active. So exercise has all sorts of benefits for us, not just physically, but mentally too. It can help us to release difficult emotions like frustration, anger, stress, or anxiety. It can leave us feeling energized and motivated afterwards. Exercise also releases pleasure hormones such as dopamine, serotonin, and endorphins, which make us feel good. An after effect of exercise is often feeling more relaxed. So find an exercise that you enjoy doing and that you'll want to do, not something that you feel like you have to. Having a healthy diet. Eating a balanced and healthy diet is not only important for our physical health, it's important for our mental health and energy levels. So reflecting on what we eat and perhaps making some healthy changes to our diet can be a helpful way to look after ourselves. It's also important to make sure we're drinking enough water, which many people overlook in the winter when it's colder. Sleep. A common change that can occur in winter, particularly if people's moods have shifted too, is that people find themselves sleeping for longer, finding it harder to get up in the mornings and perhaps taking naps during the afternoon or evening. Being aware of how our sleep pattern changes in winter and trying to maintain regular sleep routine can be helpful, particularly as good quality sleep is so vital for our bodies and minds to recharge, repair, restore, and protect. We'd also encourage people to avoid napping where possible. We know this can be trickier in the winter when it gets darker earlier, and if you're low in energy, but napping disrupts our sleep cycles, making it harder for us to get a good quality of sleep overnight. And there's routines. And creating and sticking to a regular routine can be really helpful for our mental health generally, but particularly during the winter, if the change in weather and darkness is affecting how we feel. We'll be talking a bit more about this and how to keep up a routine in the holidays later on. Keeping in touch. The darker, colder days in winter might mean that we're spending less time with people in the evenings or going outside. And if we're also not feeling great and not on top of that, we might not want to reach out to friends or family and might not feel up to socializing. It's fair enough that you want time to yourself and it's about doing what's best for you, but we know that having regular contact with people, the right people, can make a big difference to people's mood, enjoyment, and energy levels. So think about ways that you can keep in touch with friends and family this winter. Again, we'll be talking a bit about this later on. Nice activities. So planning in nice activities can give us things to look forward to in the winter and over the holidays and can help to boost our mood and motivation levels. It can also help us to engage in self-care, exercise, and spending time with others. Think about what you enjoy doing and try to plan in a few activities each week, including a combination of indoor and outdoor activities may be helpful so they aren't all weather dependent. So we wanted to share with you now some other activities which could be helpful to plan in during the holidays. Wellbeing activities are always important to include in your daily, weekly routines, but they can be really important during difficult times. So having a bath or warm shower, this can be calming and help you relax. Going for a walk, we've already discussed the benefits of daylight and exercise and getting fresh air. Seeing a friend, it's good for distraction, taking your mind off things. It's fun, it's a positive experience, can lift your mind, and also having a change of scenery. Movies and TV shows. So watching your favourite films or TV show can give you a break or a distraction and a chance to make you smile and feel more comforted. Music is great. It can have a real influence on your mood. So you can put your favorite music on, make playlists, uplifting playlists. It can make you feel more positive and give you a chance to express yourself. playing with pets. Pets are known to have a positive effect on your well-being. So if you have one, having a cuddle, a chat, or a play with your pet might help. Social media. So consider the impact that social media might have on how you feel over the holidays. It may be helpful to turn off notifications or have some time away from it every now and again. Or think about which sites and apps are more helpful and supportive. Hobbies. Doing hobbies is a great way to look after yourself and have some you time. Make sure that you plan time over the holidays to do things that you enjoy, particularly if you don't have control over other parts of the celebrations. Running errands. They offer to post a letter, go to the corner shop for some milk, go up and get a parcel for a neighbour. Doing little errands over the holidays can give you a break from the festivities and spending time with others and a moment to yourself. So there are 2 relaxation exercises that we wanted to share with you today, as they can help to calm physical symptoms of anxiety or stress and take your mind away from your worries. So the first exercise is all about calm breathing. One way of practicing calm breathing is to draw around one of your hands with the other. And every time you draw up a finger, take a slow breath in. And every time you draw down a finger, take a slow breath out. Some people find it helpful to take a pause and hold their breath briefly between breathing in and out. Some people like to breathe in through their nose and out through their mouth. It's about finding something that works for you. Next activity is a way of grounding yourself. And grounding is all about refocusing your attention away from the unpleasant symptoms or worries and bringing it back to the present moment. The main idea behind this is to use your senses and focus on the things that you can see, touch, hear, smell, taste in detail. Some people might want to choose a particular sense to focus on. For example, finding things in a room that are a certain colour or shape, or that start with a certain letter. Some people find it helpful to go through all 5 of the senses, as you can see on the slide here. Just like learning any new skill, these exercises take practice to strengthen their relaxing effects. So we encourage people to practice them regularly, including at times when you're feeling okay. So there could be something you practice for 5 or 10 minutes first thing in the morning or before you go to bed. Another way of looking after yourself is having boundaries. So one way you can look after yourself over the holidays is creating boundaries for yourself and protect those boundaries with other people. The boundaries are limits around ourselves that protect our well-being and our needs, often around how we would and would not like people to speak to us and treat us, and the things we are and are not prepared to do. Boundaries will look different for different people, and perhaps in different situations too. There's no wrong or right way. Think about what's important for you and where your boundaries are, and try to make sure you protect them over the holidays for, by example, taking time out for yourself or saying no to things that you don't want to do or you don't feel comfortable doing. Thinking about where your safe spaces are can also be helpful. The holiday can often be a time of stress or pressure, or involvement in activities we would not choose to do. So knowing where your safe places are in advance of the holidays and making sure that you have periods of time out in these spaces might be really important. Again, safe spaces look different for different people, but they often include somewhere they feel comfortable, like a private space of yours, or somewhere neutral, like a garden or a park. If you aren't able to go to a physical safe place when needed, which some people may not be able to do, then creating a safe space or a happy space in your mind might be the next best thing. This activity is going to talk you through one way of creating this safe space. Once you've created it, it's yours to revisit as often as you like. We would suggest creating it in advance of when you might need it and practice imagining this space regularly to really strengthen its positive effects. So the first step is to find a quiet and comfortable space so you can do this activity where you aren't going to be interrupted. Next, close your eyes and take a few slow and deep breaths. Imagine a place where you feel calm, happy and safe. It may be somewhere you've been before or a specific happy memory you have. It may be somewhere you've always wanted to visit. It may be a place in a fantasy world. Then, when you've got this place in mind, using each of your senses, focus on the place you're in and what it's going to be around you. What does this place look like? What can you see? What colours and shapes? Are there people or creatures around? What can you hear? Are there any sounds, or is it quiet? Are there specific sounds or just background noise? Maybe your favourite music is playing. Now focus on what you can smell. What you can taste. Are you eating or drinking anything? And lastly, focus on what you can feel. What is it you're sitting, standing, or lying on? Or perhaps you're floating. What textures can you feel around you? How hot or cold is it there? Is there a breeze? Really focus on each of your senses to create a detailed image of this place. Once you've done this, notice the pleasant physical sensations in your body when you're in this happy and safe place. Lastly, give this place a name or a phrase to help you conjure it up the next time you need it. As well as the winter and the darker days affecting our sleep patterns, they can also change because of our routine during the holidays. It's normal for sleep patterns to change during the holidays. You might want to stay up late, wake up a bit later too. It's nice to have a break from your normal routines and perhaps have a bit more control over when you do things. However, big shifts in our sleep schedule can negatively affect our energy levels and mood and can make it really tricky to get back into our previous term time or work routines. Having no routine in the holidays can also impact our mood, as we may not be getting enough sleep, or we may be spending lots of time sleeping, which then can affect our ability to do other activities during the day. Lastly, if we're awake more during the night and sleeping more during the day, this might also mean that we have very little opportunity to get natural daylight, which we've already talked about is even more important in the winter for looking after our health. So there are a few things that we would suggest. We'd encourage you to keep a consistent sleeping waking routine in the holidays. Waking up and going to bed at similar times of the day can have a really positive impact on your sleep, energy levels, and mood. We would also encourage you to not make big changes to times you go to sleep and wake up. Shifting by an hour or so may be fine, but try not to let it shift much more than that. We'd also suggest that you could avoid napping too much during the day. If you're not getting as much sleep during the holidays, or if we're feeling low in energy for other reasons, we might want to nap during the day to catch up on sleep. Napping, however, can throw routines and our natural sleep cycles off track. Again, try to get some natural light during each day. If you want to find out more about the importance of sleep and learn more strategies around making helpful changes in your routine, then we have recordings of previous sleep talks available on our YouTube channel. Structuring your days. So research has consistently shown that routines can play an important role in mental health. Having a regular routine can help you lower stress levels, form good daily habits, take better care of your health, feel more productive, and feel more focused. If we get into the habit of looking after ourselves, this can have a positive impact on our mood and increase the likelihood that we'll actually do those things, which help protect our mental health rather than just acknowledging them as ideas. So this would include sticking to a consistent sleep schedule, making time for a balanced diet, planning to get outside into the daylight, and planning valued activities, all things which have a positive impact on how we feel. We know that it can be harder to keep up routines during the holidays when many people have less structure in their days due to time off, school, college, or work. Given the benefits of routine, we'd encourage people to adopt their existing routines for the holidays or create new routines to follow. Planning what your day or week might look like in advance can also help remind and encourage you to practice some of the activities and tips we've shared with you today. Again, there's no right or wrong way to create a routine. Some people may find sticking to routines quite easy and feel able to do lots of activities. Others might find it a bit harder and might find it very structured and this schedule a bit overwhelming. It's important to find a balance that works for you. We don't want to put too much pressure on ourselves that makes it feel stressed or unhappy. and we don't want to set ourselves up to fail. So we would encourage people to start gradually, perhaps with 1 or 2 activities a day, and build up from there. It may also help to think about when suits us best to do them. For example, this fictional person finds time to go for a walk in the morning, but you might find it easier to go after lunch or around midday. So this is just an example of a schedule that someone has written for themselves. You can see they've put quite a few things in, but it's important to leave gaps as well where you don't have anything particularly planned. As we said, it's up to you what you put in your plan. You don't want to make it too structured that it is overwhelming and you can't stick to it. So, as I'm sure you're all aware, we're currently experiencing a cost of living crisis. The cost of living has been increasing since 2021, and this means that prices of products, particularly food, energy, and fuel, are rising. Some of the major contributing factors to this are the pandemic, supply shortages. So, this means lots of people wanting to buy products that aren't available. The conflict in Ukraine has been leading to higher prices, pushing up inflation around the world, and our wages are not increasing as quickly. So people are earning the same amount of money but having to spend more. This has affected everyone on different levels and is completely natural to be worried. Our advice is to not keep these worries to yourself. Talk to someone you trust about how you're feeling. Struggling with money is nothing to be ashamed of. If you're struggling, you're not alone. We have a few practical ideas to help with cost of living crisis. However, we know that some of these things aren't your responsibility and are out of your control. So you can do things like turning off the lights when you're not using them, and the same goes for taps, only using the amount of water you need. If you're a little bit chilly, you can put on an extra jumper or snuggle up with a blanket. And something at the moment is buying gifts for people. So don't put pressure on yourself to buy lots of gifts or expensive gifts for people at Christmas. Yeah, it can be lovely to buy and receive gifts, but everyone's aware of the situation with money at the moment. And there are alternatives to spending money. You can spend less, you can make things, you can speak to people about not exchanging gifts this year. So a few ideas are homemade gifts. So you can try and make things for people, maybe baking, write out someone's favorite recipes, make salt dough decorations, just a few ideas. You can make homemade vouchers. So give someone a voucher with, I will make you breakfast on this day, or I will make dinner, something nice for someone. You could do Secret Santa instead of buying everyone a present, setting a budget, and you'll only have to buy one gift instead of buying gifts for everyone. There are some suggestions on the slide here, but it's all about trying to do what you can. And if you're worried, like we said on the last slide, talk to someone about it. Don't keep it to yourself. Then there's the role of the media. So the media has a big part to play in how Christmas is represented. Depictions of Christmas often include happy families, great focus on spending large amounts of money on food, decorations, and presents. Christmas being this really special and magical time of year, people being really happy and carefree, having a wonderful time. This over-representation of Christmas in this way can put large amounts of pressure on people and create high expectations that are hard to live up to, and also cause people who have Christmases different to this to feel sad and lonely and dissatisfied. It can also contribute to self-criticism and low self-esteem. Social media can also have an unhelpful effect on our mental health over this time of year. So we might see pictures or posts online about people who are spending lots of money, how they're spending time together, and we might compare ourselves to this and feel bad about ourselves. So some things to remember when it comes to social media is the picture perfect Christmas that the media portrays rarely exists. It's okay if your Christmas looks different. Most people's do, and in one way or another. Social media posts are unlikely to be realistic and representative. People often feel pressure themselves to show others that they're having a good time or a good day, and people are unlikely to share the things that haven't gone that well. Most people on Instagram are going to post the best bits, or when we see influencers, nearly all of their posts are staged. So the posts they're posting on Christmas Day were probably staged a month ago. It's pressure for advertising and to try and get us to buy things. So, a lot of the pressure from social media is making us feel bad. So you could consider having a break or limiting your use of social media if you're finding it unhelpful. And we have these websites that have got lots of useful information and advice on. Might be helpful to have a look over the holidays. We'll leave a slide up for a little bit. You might want to write down some of these organisations. Kooth is a very helpful app, and they have a live chat, and they have specific opening hours over Christmas, which will be 4 p.m. till 8 p.m. on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Boxing Day, the 27th, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, and the 2nd of January. They are available 24/7, their website and app to access, but their specific chat service will be open on those days from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. And lastly, we just wanted to remind you about Centre 33's closure dates over Christmas. So our frontline support closes on the 23rd of December. So the last day to get in touch would be the Thursday, the 22nd of December. We reopen on Thursday, the 5th of January, so you can get in touch with us again in the usual way, so by phone, text or email, or come into one of our drop-ins. The usual helpline opening times on Monday to Friday, 12 till 5 p.m, and Saturday, 10 till 1 p.m. And we will reply to any messages left outside these times. Drop-in opening times vary by location, so you can find all the details on our website. We have drop-ins open in Cambridge this Friday and Saturday morning, and across all hubs next week. So if you need any support before Christmas, then do get in touch with our frontline team. It's worth keeping an eye on our social media for any updates and changes to our service. So thank you all for listening to this talk. We hope that you found it helpful and have some tips to try and look after yourself in the holidays.